We were introduced by Tusk, really, weren't we? I think they had an ulterior motive, which they were aware that Lev wanted to put on, or to get his photography seen by more people, or they wanted that, and they knew that I had done a few exhibitions for them before, so they mooted the idea that we should perhaps take a collaboration.
Well, the Tusk Trust is a conservation charity that really is trying to save some of the most endangered species across Africa, particularly rhino, lion, and of course African elephants. I thought it would just be a great opportunity to use both of our art forms to raise awareness and hopefully funds for a really worthwhile cause.
My favourite piece is the Mundari photograph that Lev took when he was spending time with the Mundari tribe, and it's so atmospheric with the cattle, and I suppose that was one of the first pieces I think I saw of yours, so I decided to see what I could do in terms of creating a sculpture that might just pick up a little bit of the atmosphere.
I'm not sure I could choose between any of your sculptures because they're all incredible. I actually spent most of last year running away from most of these animals. And that was particularly these things. I just think these scorpions are absolutely.
They weren't quite as big as that, I hope, were they?
No, not quite, thankfully, because I would have been. I don't think I would have made it to the end if they were.
I've always been interested in photography and I've been sort of snapping away whenever I've been travelling. But I think I took it up as something slightly more seriously when I left the army. And that was really one of my big passions, and I thought I'm going to sort of throw my entire energy and passion behind it. So I sort of invested in a good camera and off I went, and everywhere I travelled I always made sure I got lots of photographs. These days I've upgraded to a Leica, so I really wanted to get a full frame camera, which means that you can get incredible images and blow them up to big size and show them off as well. I think I took well over 4,000 images on the Nile journey over 9 months. So deciding which ones to actually include in the exhibition was a real challenge. So I narrowed it down to about 200 and then again down to 100, and then sort of finally got down there to my sort of top 21. And it's quite difficult. It's not just a case of choosing your favourite images. It's about getting a proportional sort of representation of images throughout the journey, including a variety of animals, of wildlife, of portraits, landscapes, and ultimately, the photos that tell the journey and the stories behind it. I think with travel photography, the beauty is trying to get the whole spectrum. So, capturing images of people, of the landscapes, of the wildlife. But ultimately, like I say, it's really about telling the story. So it's finding interesting images and using that as a way of documenting your journey. Travel and adventure has always been my passion, and ever since I was 18 and went off travelling around the world on my own, I've never really been able to stop since. And when I was a student at university, I started travelling very much on a shoestring, and then decided quite young on that that's what I wanted to do with my life. So I joined the army, and that enabled me to travel even more, and also gave me the experience to become a professional guide and an expedition leader, which in turn enabled me to take up my passion for writing and photography. And it's about combining all of those skills and all of those levels of experience together, ultimately to keep pushing the boundaries, and that's what being an explorer is all about. My advice to anyone that wants to be in the world of expeditions, of exploration and adventure, I think, is just never give up, because there's so many people that will say, if you can't do this, you can't do that, it's too dangerous, there's too many risks. Well, obviously, risk is there. It's always going to be a part of exploration and adventure. But I think, as long as you do it right, do it properly, you can embrace that risk and just keep pushing yourself. And just never give up. Just get over those hurdles. And I think by doing that, you can develop yourself and just keep going. For me, I travel in lots of different environments, whether it's the jungle, mountains, deserts, or temperate climates. So you need specific equipment and kit, particularly clothing, for those environments. For me, it's usually about packing light, because I can only really carry, I can only take with me what I can carry on my back. So that's really important to me, is have lightweight, durable gear that lasts. That's really essential. So having a good rucksack, a good shirt is essential, because actually I don't really pack more than two pairs of clothing. So I have 2 shirts. One dry, one wet for when you're sweating or in the rain or in the snow. And then you need a good compass so you don't get lost. Well, my preparation usually, depending on what kind of a journey I'm going on, for the past 2 years I've been doing really long walks. I walk the length of the Nile, and I've just come back from walking the length of the Himalayas. So with an expedition of that sort of magnitude, where you're away for months and months and months, ultimately you just need to make sure everything's in order in terms of your life. In terms of physical training, ultimately it's a long walk, so you just need a base level of fitness. You actually train on the hoof, really. You sort of get on with it, and you build up fitness and start taking it gradually, and then ultimately after a few weeks you're actually as fit as you could be. So it's not really necessarily just about the physical training, it's about making sure you've done your homework, understanding the local cultures, trying to learn a bit of language, learning about the security, for instance, and just making sure you've got the right gear, because there's not necessarily options to get resupplied when you're out in the middle of the Himalayas, so you need to make sure you've got the right stuff with you. When you do the amount of walking that I do and climbing, you want something that, if you sweat, you're not going to get too hot and bothered, and actually it's nice and comfortable to wear. I say the trousers I found really comfortable, actually, so they were fantastic. And I've walked in Craghoppers trousers now. I've walked 4, 5, 6, almost 7,000 miles, which is a long way. Well, my last trip was walking the Himalayas, so I've just got back just over a week ago. And I walked 1,700 miles, 5 very different countries, all the length of the Himalayas, from Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, and then finishing in Bhutan. So it was a fascinating journey, and that's coming soon.